Ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, my name is Raven and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to my Destiny 2 PC review. I've been playing this game a shit ton since it launched and I've been having a whole lot of fun with this game. So far, it is pretty goddamn amazing, but like with all games, it has some pros and it has some cons, which I'm going to list for you guys in this video. Now, the whole point of this video is to give you guys a good idea of what to expect with Destiny 2, especially if you're one of those people who are on the fence about buying the game, or you haven't really heard of Destiny 2 and you're thinking about it, but you aren't really sure what's going on. Hopefully this review will help you guys out and let you guys know whether it's worth your money or not. But first of all, I want to give you guys a disclaimer. I'm only going to be talking about the PC version of the game. I have not played it on console, and end of the day, the console version of Destiny 2 and the PC version are completely different games. They run completely different, so keep that in mind. If I say something for the PC version and it doesn't line up with what you're experiencing on the console, that's probably because it's completely different on the PC than it is on the console. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, first of all, we're going to be talking about the cons, and we're going to be starting with customization.
So, the only way to get where we're going is out there.
Now, when talking about customization, we have to talk about Destiny 1. Now, in Destiny 1, you could pick between three races, okay? You had the Exo, which were pretty much robots. You had the Awoken, which were space alien dudes who glow and stuff. And you had humans. You were able to pick between male and female for all of them. You could change your hair. You could change your hair color, your lipstick color, your, tattoo face paint sort of stuff, your skin color, all that normal stuff. While it wasn't the most customizable thing in the world, it was an okay customization system for the original game back in the day. But since then, we now have a lot of games with a lot of customization. Black Desert Online is one of them. Many games now have heaps of sliders. They have way more hair options. You can do like multicolored hair, all that sort of stuff. So when it came to Destiny 2's customization, I was expecting a lot. And unfortunately, I was completely let down because Bungie just took the original customization system from Destiny 1 and put it into Destiny 2. They didn't change it at all from what I can see. It's pretty much just the exact same thing. Once again, you have the same three races. Once again, you can pick male or female, and you can pretty much just change the same stuff. The only thing that springs to my mind when I see that is incredibly lazy, and they need to do better, and they need to give us more customization, because seriously, you're just going to give us the exact same thing we had from 3 years ago and just port it across to a brand new game that's supposed to be completely different to the first one. Let's be real here. They need to do more with the customization. It's a letdown. Next up, guys, we're going to be talking about the gear drop varieties. Now, Destiny 2 is a weird one, okay? It's sort of sitting in between a first-person shooter and an MMO. It's not fully MMO like World of Warcraft, where it's completely open world, but it's also not completely linear, and at the same time, you can't see, hundreds of players at once, but you can see, 25, 30 players, whatever there is in the same space, okay? You can see a fair amount of players running around next to you. So it is an MMO light, okay? It's sort of stuck in between the two worlds of just a pure shooter and an MMO. Now, I've played a lot of World of Warcraft. I've been playing it for the last 12 years. Ever since vanilla. So I will be comparing it a lot to that in terms of the MMO aspect, especially because now it's on PC, and they can go fully MMO with Destiny 2 if they choose to, because it's now on PC. But when it comes to gear drops itself, in World of Warcraft, there are so many different items you can get, and no items are really exactly the same. And that is good, because as you're leveling up, you never feel like you're just, wearing the exact same gear. The best you'll get is the same piece of gear with, of the bear, which will give different stats, of the monkey, so on and so forth, which is fine. But pretty much all the gear is different for every piece you pick up. In Destiny 2, it's not like that. Leveling up from the start of the game to cap, when it comes to the gear that drops, it all looks pretty much exactly the same. They need to change up the appearances of the gear. They need to give you way more customization options in terms of the gear you're getting. Right now, it looks like they've only got maybe, for the blue gear, 15 skins or so, and they just, recycle those at different power levels. For the, legendary gear, it seems like they got, once again, another 15 skins, and they just recycle those at the different power levels. And then you have the exotic gear, which looks different and unique, but it is a problem because you keep getting the exact same looking gear over and over and over again, and it's pretty goddamn boring. Now, whenever a blue piece of gear drops, I'm not excited for what it's going to look like. I just know what it's going to look like. I'm like, okay, it's going to be one of the 10 pieces of gear that I've already seen leveling up. It's not exciting. Same with the legendary stuff. The only time I really get excited is for the exotic stuff, because like I said, it's all unique, the exotic stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, what's this going to be? What's it going to look like? When it it comes to different appearances in gear, it seems like they once again were just lazy as shit. They said, okay, we've bumped out, 15 different looks for this gear. That's enough for a complete game, okay? They want this to be a complete game. They know people are going to be getting a whole bunch of gear. That's not enough. They needed at least a couple of hundred different looks just for the blue gear, and then a couple of hundred different looks for the legendary gear, and then of course have the exotics. Now some people might go, that's way too much. To ask for 300 different skins of like armor, that's nothing compared to every other MMO on the market. And yes, like I said, Destiny 2 isn't a pure MMO. It's like an MMO light, but it still is trying to go for that role-playing MMO factor, and just picking up the exact same looking gear all the time isn't fun, and it's very lazy. So for me, the appearances of the gear is a con because there's not enough of them. Exotics they do amazing with. They really just need to do more for the lower tier gear like blues and legendaries. Just give us more looks. Now the next con that I'm going to be talking about is 100% subjective here, okay? Depending on your skill level, but for me personally, Destiny 2 so far is far too easy, okay? They've made the game really, really easy. I pretty much have not died at all unless I'm in the Crucible or unless I've, got hit by a drop pod because I wasn't paying attention. That is funny though. But for the most part, when I'm just running around fighting the normal mobs and everything, doing the quests, doing all that sort of stuff, the whole game is just incredibly easy. They do have hard modes like the raid and the nightfall and strikes and everything. That stuff is challenging, and some of the exotic quests can be pretty challenging. But for the majority of the game and the base game itself, there isn't much challenge there, okay? The enemies aren't going to overwhelm you. Some of the enemies are pretty hard, but at the same time, they're few and far between. Now, like anything, skill levels vary, okay? So some people might find all of these things pretty damn challenging. Other people, even the stuff I find challenging, they'll find easy. But for the most part, I haven't been challenged so far, except for those few instances. So it's a con for me. They need to, beef up the enemies and make them hit harder or something. Just make the game feel harder. So that one will vary from person to person, but I just thought I'd include that one. Next up, we're going to be talking about shaders. Now this one is a pro and a con, but I'm putting it in the cons because the con outweighs everything else. So for those of you who have no idea what a shader is, okay, it's basically a dye system. So you get this thing and you can dye your armor a different color. In Destiny 1, you would get a shader, and that would be a permanent shader that you would have always. You would dye your armor and it would dye every single piece of armor you're wearing to whatever color you chose. In Destiny 2, they decided to change up the system. Now the pro with the new system is the fact that now you can shade individual pieces of armor. So if I want, my head piece to be green, I can do that, and then my chest piece to be, red, I can do that. In Destiny 1, you couldn't because it would just shade everything to that one color. So that one right there is a pro. But the con is the fact that they made shaders one use only. So when you get a shader, you'll get like a box of 5 or a box of 3 shaders, okay? And then every single time you use a shader, it's gone for good. You don't get to keep it. So if I have this really, really cool red shader color that I love, okay, say from the Crucible, if I shade 3 pieces of gear because I only have 3 shaders, after that, I don't have any more. I can't shade any more pieces of gear in that color unless I get those shaders again. But getting the shaders is completely random. As far as I know so far, unless you're doing like a raid or something, there is no way to target a specific shader. Most of the time you're opening up engrams and so on and so forth, and from those engrams you get, just random shaders. You'll get 5 from this one, you'll get 3 from that one, but you can't control which ones you're buying. There is no shader merchant. So what this does to me personally, and to a lot of other people that I've been seeing, is it makes me not want to use my shaders. I have a whole bunch of shaders sitting there, and I am scared to use the cool looking ones because I have no idea when I'm going to get more of those cool looking ones. I don't want to use it on a piece of gear and then maybe get a cooler looking piece of gear that I'm going to use instead of it and then go, shit, I just wasted that shader. Shading exotics is fine because the exotics are cool and you're always going to keep them, and you can, infuse them into a higher power level, so you're always going to be able to use them if you want. But because there are different exotics and some look cool than the others and the exotics are random in the ones you get, it still gives you that feeling of, okay, if I use this rare shader on this exotic and then that's cool, I'm happy with that, but then I get a different exotic that looks better, I don't have that shader anymore, and who knows when I'm going to get one again. Now I heard feedback from the console players saying that you get shaders so much it's no issue, like they're drowning in shaders. That's not happening on the PC version. I am not drowning in shaders. I have a whole bunch of shaders, but the amount of shaders I have are like, blocks of 2 or 3. I'm not getting like, 50 shaders here of this one, like, 40 of this one, even 20 of this one. So yes, I have lots of individual colors in terms of shaders, but the problem is I only have 1 to 3 of them. So I'm scared to use them because I have no idea when I'm going to get them again. So a way they could solve this system is to just, make it so you do drown in shaders like the console players are apparently drowning in shaders. But for us here on PC, at least in my experience, they need to do something about it because right now it's a con. It's good you can shade individual pieces, but for the fact that, it makes me feel bad about using a shader, which should never be a thing when I'm customizing something, I have to chalk that up to a con. But that one, once again, is going to be a little bit more on the subjective side. Some people care more about customization than others. I care a lot about it. Some people don't. It's going to be up to you on that one. Next up, we're going to be talking about exotic equipment like armor and weapons. Now, the exotics themselves are not a con. I like the exotics and everything. I'll talk about them later on in the pros. The thing I hate about exotics right now in Destiny 2, though, is the fact that you can only equip one armor exotic and one weapon exotic at a time. Now, I care about customization a lot. If my character looks shit, I play a little bit shit, okay? I always would go out and find the best looking gear so that way I feel awesome, I look awesome, and I play better. That's just the thing that I do. It may be weird, but that's me. And now in Destiny 2, I'm getting all this awesome looking freaking gear. I got this awesome, helmet for my warlock, that's an exotic. I got this awesome chest piece, that's an exotic. And the problem is I can't use both of them at once because it won't let me. You can only equip one. I have no idea why I can't deck myself out in exotic equipment. I want to put on that exotic helmet and look awesome as fuck. I want to put on that exotic chest piece, look awesome as shit. I want to put on the boots. I got these awesome exotic boots that have these glowing panels on the front, but I can only choose one. And the fact that the exotic gear looks so goddamn good, it doesn't really mesh well with some of the other gear, the purple gear. It's just a real shame to me why I can't equip multiple of them. Just having to choose one kind of sucks. I'll be honest with you, it just feels a little bit shit. And I personally don't know why they only allow you to use one exotic if they're trying to make it so it's rare. Well, it's not really rare when exotics are dropping all the goddamn time. The whole point of exotics being rare is supposed to be that they're really hard to obtain, and they're rare in the fact that they rarely drop. Not that you can only use one, but you got 50 of them. So the whole rarity thing is supposed to be their reason for you not being able to wear a full set of exotics. It doesn't really make any sense. But overall, the equipping of the exotics is a con for me, not the actual exotics themselves. I'll talk about them soon. And the next one we're going to be talking about is the in-game chat feature. Okay, so the little chat box. This one for me is a absolute fucking no-brainer, and this one gets me a little bit pissed off in how they managed to fuck this up. Now, the consoles don't have a chat box. There's no keyboard. They can't type to each other, all that sort of stuff. PC, though, we have the ability to have a chat box. We can type to each other. We can talk to people. And yet, for some goddamn reason, Bungie has not put in a general chat feature. If I'm in the tower, I can't just hit enter, which will bring up the chat box. I can't then type in /general chat, and I can't just go, hey, looking for 3 more people to do this strike, or hey, looking for 3 people to do Crucible. Nothing like that. I can't talk to anyone else in the game. They give you the ability to whisper people, but that's, set to off by default. I don't know why. It seems like Bungie's afraid of people talking to each other in what's supposed to be an MMO light or a competitive game or a cooperative game, whatever it is. People need to talk to each other. And they have this chat function in game where you can talk to your fire team if you're in a strike or something, but it's hidden, okay? You'll get this little message that will blink if someone says something, but for the most part, the chat box is hidden. It's away. You can't see it. In World of Warcraft, your chat box is always there. When people are typing, it's popping up. Any other MMO, when people are typing in general chat, in party chat, whatever, it's there and you can see it. You don't need to hit enter to bring up the chat box just to see someone's message. I don't know why they're trying to go this complete anti-social approach. It's a cooperative game with other players running around in this game, and yet they're trying to make it so you can't talk to anyone, or in order to talk to someone, it's a fucking hassle. And to do the raids and the nightfall strikes, you need to be in a group. Now, for the solo player or someone who doesn't have many friends who are playing the game, normally in an MMO, they can, type in general chat, hey, looking for a guild, or in this case, a clan. Hey, I'm looking for, to do this run or something. Those people can't do that in this game for some reason. The chat box is there, but it's useless. There's no point having the chat box in Destiny 2 right now because you can't talk to anyone via the chat box. What's the point? If they're doing it so that way, the PC players don't have something over the consoles, that mindset needs to just go right now. The PC players already have a ton of shit over the consoles. We have uncapped frame rates. We have freaking 4K resolution. We have mouse and keyboard. We have the chat box to begin with. We have, field of view sliders. We have so much shit that the consoles don't get. So if that is the reason, who gives a shit? Just give us the ability to talk to each other. If they're scared people are going to talk to someone who's going to be mean to them, welcome to the fucking internet. I'm pretty sure anyone who's been playing online games for long enough knows that some people are cocksuckers and other people are nice. And you just ignore the dickheads. And of all the cons I've listed so far, for me personally, this is the biggest one. And this shits me to tears. So that one is a massive con for me. And the last con we're going to be talking about is the endgame itself and its longevity. Now this one, once again, it varies quite drastically from player to player and how much time you invest in the game. But whether you're a casual or whether you're a hardcore player, you're going to run into the exact same issue with Destiny 2. The only thing that's going to be different is the time it takes you to run into that issue. Now, if you're a hardcore player who's like no-lifing the shit out of Destiny 2, you're pretty much going to be able to cap a character out in like a week and a half. If you're like seriously playing like, 12, 14 hours a day, no-lifing the shit out of it, there's not going to be much content there for you, because you're going to smash through it all. You're going to get to the power level cap, and then there's not going to be much to do apart from just, farm exotics and farm out other cosmetics. If you're the average player who's playing around about, 6 to 8 hours a day type thing, there's going to be around about 2 to 3 weeks of content for you there before you run into the exact same issue where, you've hit the power level cap on your character, and the only thing to do is to either farm out the very few exotics and stuff that you don't have, which is all RNG to begin with, or you can start a brand new character and then level that guy up to cap. In that case, you get another couple of weeks out of it. And if you're a casual player and you only play a couple of hours every couple of days or something like that, it's going to take you about a month and a half or something, and you're going to run into that issue as well. Because once you start hitting level cap and you start getting a bit of power around about the 240, 250 mark, even sometimes before that, pretty much as soon as you hit level cap, adventures become, useless. The only time you do adventures is to get blue gear, which you can dismantle into gun parts, which you take to the vendor guy and you trade them in for legendary engrams at your power level. So adventures become useless unless you want those parts. Normal strikes become pretty much useless unless you want those parts. They take a whole bunch of time, and the chances of you getting something awesome at the end, especially at the high power levels, it's not really that big of a chance. The lost sectors are really cool and they're really fun, but once again, you run into the exact same problem where they're limited, so you'll probably pretty much do all of them by the time you hit the power level cap if you're interested in that sort of thing. And it's the same thing with public events. Once you do the public events, yeah, they're awesome for getting gear and legendary engrams, and if there's like, the daily quest for them, it's great to get powerful engrams. But the problem is the content runs out pretty quick once you hit that power level cap. And it's something they need to address, and they are addressing. They got a whole bunch of DLC coming out. They've got a plan to put in a whole bunch of replayability for all the endgame stuff as well, which is going to help alleviate that. But for the base game right now, they need to put in a lot more content and quick. So right now it's a con, because the endgame does lack a little bit of, stuff to do once you hit that power level cap. So those are the cons, guys. It's mostly just, nitpicky stuff with the cosmetics, some quality of life stuff, some, in-game features, and of course the endgame lacking big time. Overall, though, that's pretty much the main gripes I have with the game in terms of the cons. But now we're going to be looking at the pros, and we're going to be starting with the graphics. Now, when it comes to the graphics in Destiny 2, the game looks fucking beautiful, especially on PC. Now, yes, at times, some of the textures, if you like walk up real close to them and you have a look in certain spots, the textures aren't that good on certain rocks and stuff. They could be improved, but for the most part, when you just look at the game in general, it is one of the best looking games on the PC right now that I've seen. And especially when you take into account some of those skyboxes. I cannot tell you how many times I've been walking and I've just stood in my tracks, looked up at the sky, and just got lost for 10 minutes just having a look at stuff. There's space battles going on sometimes in the sky. You can look up and see entire planets up there. You can see plumes of smoke, the stars. There are so many beautiful things just looking up in the sky or looking off into the distance that make you just want to stop playing the game, just sit back for a second and just look at the world in general and just have a look around. In Destiny 2, they have truly outdone themselves when it comes to the skyboxes. And it's not just the skyboxes that look absolutely gorgeous. Some of these planets look freaking amazing. Nessus is one of those planets as well. You have the red trees, which are like, you know, this bright red color, and it contrasts so beautifully with the white stone everywhere. Everywhere is just white. You have the water, which is all white, and that combined with the red just looks amazing. The architecture is all blocky and everything because it's all Vex, which are the robot guys, and the planet just looks gorgeous as a whole. It's one of my favorite planets to visit just because the skyboxes are lovely. Just looking out over these massive waterfalls and just seeing this giant background mountain with all these, like, you know, different constructs and stuff. That combined with the color scheme just makes that my favorite planet. But every planet feels different and looks amazing. You have Titan with the water everywhere, and you're on like this like falling apart rigging factory type place. You have the European Dead Zone, which looks freaking cool. All the buildings that are collapsing are all overgrown as well. Just, you know, the whole forest is taking the whole place back. There's destroyed cars everywhere. Every single planet in terms of their graphics just fits so goddamn well, and on the PC it all just looks amazing no matter where you go. So when it comes to the graphics in Destiny 2, you are not going to be disappointed. It looks freaking amazing. And moving on to the next pro, and that is the gameplay itself. Now, for anyone who knows anything about Destiny 2, this one is a no-brainer. The gameplay feels freaking awesome, especially on PC. It was always good on console, but I've never been really that good at shooters on console and stuff, and at 30 frames per second, it felt a little bit slow and weird. On PC, though, with 60 frames per second and the mouse and keyboard, holy mother of God, the thing plays fucking smooth and crisp as shit. It's like playing Destiny 1 on steroids when you're playing it on the computer. This game was made for the PC. And I know that's going to piss some people off who only play console stuff and, you know, hate the whole PC thing, but the game just looks better on PC, it runs better on PC, you have more options like field of view and stuff on PC, the gameplay feels better on PC because you're at 60 frames per second and above. Unfortunately, that is a fact that you cannot argue. When you play Destiny 2 on the console, it looks good, it feels okay, but it's not the best thing in the world. As soon as you jump from console to PC and you play the exact same game, you will feel the difference straight away, and you will be like, I'm never touching the console version ever again. And in terms of the gunplay, they've nailed it. The guns feel amazing to shoot. It feels great to run around. The movement, the fact that they've put the vault, so, you know, if you jump short of like a ledge, you can, like, you know, climb up on the ledge now, stuff like that. It just feels solid, it feels smooth, and it's fun. And that's the main thing there. Shooting stuff, even just base enemies who aren't a threat to you, is fun. The guns are all fun to use. Gameplay and graphics in this game, 10 out of 10. They've done a brilliant job with it. Next up, we're going to be talking about the sound of the game and the music. First up, we're going to be talking about the guns and the sounds in general, okay? Once again, they've nailed it here. This is one of the things that they've done completely correct. All the guns have their own individual sound. They all sound pretty damn cool to use. Some of them do have like a bit of a weird sound to them, but even the weird sound that they use, it still works and still of a high quality. All the enemies, they do their normal thing, which is typical of any Halo game that Bungie used to do, where they'll say stuff, they'll argue with each other in different languages. The explosions all sound amazing. They sound really authentic, and sometimes when you're on low health and you got stuff blowing up next to you, you got these lasers whizzing past you that the enemy's shooting at you, especially with headphones on, the thing sounds crazy and it gets your heart pumping, especially when you add the music to it. The music in Destiny 2 is absolutely crazy, and some of the tracks that they use in Destiny 2 threw me off completely, but in a good way. I was doing one of the missions and I was about to fight this, you know, big boss guy, and I ran in, started shooting him, and then this music started playing. It was like this synth techno stuff, and it was a bit futuristic, but it sounded freaking cool. I'm sitting there, I'm just like bopping along going, this is fucking, what the hell? Threw me off completely, but in a really good way. Had a big smile on my face. And then you go from there into an industrial, like, you know, heavy metal type sound where it sounds a little bit like Doom, and I'm freaking headbanging along while shooting all these fallen and blowing them up. But then there are other times where they do it completely right on the flip side, where they just bring it right down. When I was walking up, I looked over this edge and there's this glorious skybox with these mountain ranges. It's all snowy, and they had this orchestral, like, you know, music playing behind it with violins and cellos and just piano. Nice, somber, surreal, and it just made me just stand there for a good 15 minutes going, oh my god, I'm looking at the scenery, I'm listening to the music. I was fully immersed. So when it comes to the sound of the game in terms of the guns and the enemies and the explosions and just the sounds in general, top fucking notch job. And when it comes to the music, just the sheer variety threw me off in a good way, and the music itself was freaking cool and amazing. So good job to them on that one. Next up, we're going to be talking about the story and the campaign. First of all, I want to say thank fucking God they actually put one of these in Destiny 2. I was so invested in the original Destiny 1 story because it was this mysterious thing that I wanted to know more about. But unfortunately, they didn't do anything with it. And everyone who played Destiny 1, everyone knows the jokes about, I don't have time to tell you why I don't have time to talk about anything because they were all dickheads. But I was still intrigued even though no one would tell me about anything and I wanted to know more about the lore of Destiny 1. Luckily though, in Destiny 2, they've given us this full campaign. And some people have mixed opinions about the campaign, but I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to do any spoilers here. From start to finish, I was engrossed in the campaign. I wanted to finish it. I wanted to know more and I wanted to get this lore. It's a little bit like, a shame of how it ended so quickly in terms of like the story arc with Gull and all that. But at the same time, it was freaking cool. And the last couple of missions of the campaign, wait till you get to them. They're going to freaking blow your goddamn socks off if you buy this game. Especially if you played Halo 1 and 2, it's going to remind you a lot of Halo 1 and 2 in a very, very good way. Campaign overall, solid as fuck, and I really enjoyed it. The next pro we're going to be talking about are the public events. Now in Destiny 1, there was no map, okay? There was no map you could pull up, and when public events were happening, it's pretty much just happenstance when you were just driving past, you just so happened to come across one as it was happening and you could go there. In Destiny 2, there is a map, thank fucking God. I am so happy that they put a map in, and I'm even happier that they put a timer on the public events. So now when you pull up your map, all the public events will be there and it will say exactly how much time you have to get to that public event and when it's going to start. This is really amazing because one, farming public events is a thing because they give you really cool gear and it has challenge modes on the public events. They're a ton of fun, I'll give them that. And the really cool thing about them is it gives you a chance to interact with other people because there'll be tons of other people rocking up to this public event because it's out in the world. It's just a shame that there's no general chat. I can't really talk to these people, but at least they're there and I can emote spam to them. But the public events as a whole, they're really fun. They have that challenge mode to them so you can make them harder if you want to, and at the end they drop a bunch of loot. Overall, they're an amazing addition and I hope that they continue them going forward because the public events overall are just a really cool addition to the game, and I like the fact that we know when they're happening now. That is a solid change and they're just fun. Next up, we're going to be talking about the rep token system on all the planets. This is one that I actually really enjoy. I've always liked rep farming stuff, like back in World of Warcraft, you'd rep farm up to a certain thing, get exalted, and then you could buy certain things from that rep vendor that you could only get at that exalted level. That was a really cool thing that I liked in World of Warcraft, and I like Destiny 2's take on the whole rep system. So the way it works in Destiny 2 is, while you're questing and basically doing public events, pretty much anything, opening chests, all that sort of stuff, you'll get a token for that world. So if we're doing it on Nessus, we'll get a Nessus token. There is also materials out in the world that you can collect which are specific to that planet. Picking up those materials as well allow you to turn them in later on. Now once you get a bunch of these tokens and materials out in the world, you can go back to the NPC of that world. So for Nessus, it's failsafe, and you go back and talk to her, and then what you can do is you can exchange those tokens and those materials for reputation. There's a bar there, and every single time you fill that up, you will get a legendary engram that scales to your power level. So if I am power level 230, I will be getting engrams that are power level 230. But then if I go farm a bunch of tokens and I come back and I'm now power level 260, I will now be getting engrams at 260 every single time I turn in enough tokens or materials to rep up. And every single planet drops their own unique tokens and they have their own unique materials that you can go around and collect. And the engrams that they give you every single time you rep up drop their own unique gear. They can also drop their own unique shaders and all that sort of stuff as well, including weapons. It's just a really cool system and it rewards you for going around these planets and just doing all the stuff you would normally be doing as you're doing all these public events, as you're doing lost sectors, opening up chests, doing quests on these planets. Whatever you're doing, you're getting these tokens naturally, and then you can always take them back and you can get awesome gear for it. And it's the exact same thing every single time you dismantle gear or weapons. You get these crafting material parts, you can take them back to the gunsmith or the weapon vendor guy, and then you basically hand them into him. Same system. Every single time you rep it up, you get a legendary engram that will contain guns, and once again, it will contain more shaders as well. It's the same thing for the strikes. You'll get tokens for doing strikes. You hand them into Zavala. He'll give you Vanguard gear. Going through PvP will give you tokens. Same sort of thing. Rock up to Lord Shaxx, give it to him. He'll give you PvP specific gear and shaders and all that in the engrams that they drop every single time you rep up. The system runs through the entire game, so the rep token system gets a big thumbs up for me. I like it. The next thing we're going to be talking about though is the lost sectors. Now, the lost sectors for me are one of my most favorite things in this game. So the way it works is you will open up your map and there'll be these like little markings all over the map, okay? Those tell you where the lost sectors are. Some of them are easy to find, some of them are hidden. So once you get to the general area, you can see this giant mark, okay, which is the symbol that's painted on the rock somewhere on the side of a building, something like that. And then from there, you have to find the entrance to this lost sector. Now, once you go down to this lost sector, you can basically run around and it's a linear thing. It's like a mini dungeon. You picture it like that. You go through this mini solo dungeon, you fight all these mobs, and at the end, there will be this elite mob, okay? You'll kill him, and then once you kill him, he'll drop a code and you can open up a chest at the end, which will give you legendary engrams, all the sort of loot you'd normally get from all the other stuff. And these things are really fucking fun to do. I personally love the ones that are a lot more hidden. I spent hours just running around to these lost sectors, trying to find them, going down, doing it. Even if I'm not getting the best rewards from it sometimes, I don't really care because it's just fun. It's like my own little personal dungeon that I can run through. I can do it at my own pace. I can go like exploring. Shows me the world, and all these lost sectors look different. Even on the same world, there are ones where I'll run down and it's like an abandoned little factory thing, and then the next one will be like this cave with all this really beautiful trees and everything inside. All of the lost sectors, the scenery inside varies, and the enemies you're fighting varies as well depending on the planet. They are honestly a really, really good addition, and I'm happy to hear that they're going to be improving them and making them a lot more replayable after you've already done them, and give better gear for the higher people who are higher up there in terms of power level, which is a really good change because I fucking love the lost sectors. They're one of my most favorite things in this game, and I love just running around doing them. And I think that's mainly because of the exploration part. I love exploring this world that they've built, and I love exploring any world that I'm into. And now we're going to get to the last pro for me, but this one is going to piss off a whole lot of people. I already know it, but we're going to be talking about 4v4 PvP. Now, like I said, this is going to piss off a whole bunch of people who are into the Destiny 1 PvP system, okay? I absolutely hated the Destiny 1 PvP system because it wasn't based around skill. It was based around who can one-shot the other person first. And that was mainly due to the fact that you had sticky grenades that one-hit people, you had shoulder bashes from Titans which one-hit people, you had shotguns, you had snipers which were one-hitting people and easy to get, and everyone was getting their supers every 2.5 goddamn seconds. And I am a competitive person, and there was nothing competitive or fun for me with just running around just going, oh, I turned the corner, I saw you first, I have a shotgun, you're dead. Or I turned the corner and I stuck you, you're dead. That for me wasn't fun, and it wasn't skillful in my eyes. So I didn't really like the Destiny 1 PvP system. Now in Destiny 2, they've changed that, okay? They've gotten rid of the fact that you can just run around one-hitting people all the goddamn time. Now you don't get supers every 2.5 seconds. You might get, you know, maybe 1 or 2 a match, depending on how well you're doing. With the new weapon system, shotguns and sniper rifles are now put into the power slot, and the power ammo you get on the actual PvP maps is very limited, so you don't have everyone just running around with shotguns one-hitting each other, which is awesome. And because the game is focused more around primary weapons, so your main weapon and your secondary weapon, you're actually spending more time shooting the other people in a first-person shooter game than you are just one-hitting them. And then you add to the fact that the time to kill people is higher than it was in Destiny 1, you now have actual gunfights, which I love. But I'm not 100% biased here, it does come with its own issues, okay? In Destiny 1, the issue was that everyone was just running around one-hitting each other, which was shit. Now in Destiny 2, because there's a higher focus on primary weapons and the time to kill is higher and there's less one-hit kill mechanics, the fights last longer. Now there is one problem with the fights lasting longer, apart from it being, you know, awesome that the fights are lasting longer and you have a chance to actually do something. The problem is the fact that there's this thing called team shotting now. So if I turn around the corner and there are 2 people and we're all evenly skilled, keep that in mind please. We're talking about evenly skilled people. We all have the same skill level. If we all have the same skill level, 2 of them shooting me is going to kill me before I can kill one of them. That's what team shotting is. We have this problem now where you get lots of people just running around in a big group of 4, a blob, okay? There'll just be one homogeneous blob. They'll run around. As soon as you turn around the corner, they'll all just shoot you effectively, like, you know, twice each, and you're dead. But that only happens when you're in a scenario where you're evenly skilled or they are better skilled than you. There has been many times where I have turned around a corner and there's 3 people there and I've killed all 3 of them because I was better than them, even with them team shotting me. If you can't shoot for shit, it's not going to work. But team shotting is an issue, I will give it that. But for me personally, I prefer team shotting any goddamn day of the week over just walking around a corner and being one hit, respawning, being one hit, turning a corner, oh, he has his ulti up, one hits me. And then before you know it, I then go on a one-hitting spree. One hit this guy, one hit that guy, one hit that guy. Like, it's not fun one-hitting people. I'd rather get team shot because at least I have a semi-chance, or at least, you know, I have a chance to run away, something like that, or I can work with my team. I would rather it be team oriented than just, you know, one shot oriented. And the other thing that people are going to hate me for is the fact that I love the 4v4 PvP system. In Destiny 1, they had Rumble, which was 6v6, which was chaotic as fuck. There were people running all around the place, and someone would spawn in front of me who was an enemy, and I'd just shoot them, stuff like that. It was chaotic and crazy. I didn't mind it too much, but I do prefer the 4v4. But that's not to say I would be pissed off at all if they put in 6v6 or even 8v8, 10v10. I wouldn't care. I'd play those modes too, because in PvP, I don't mind more people in the game. It's chaotic, it's fun, but when it comes to Bungie's decision to go with 4v4 for all the modes, I have no issue with that. I am fine with that, and I like the skill factor that comes with PvP now. So hate me if you will, but keep in mind, PvP now in Destiny 2, it takes a lot more skill, and I think overall it is a very good change, and I like what they did. Now, there is one more pro that I forgot to mention, and this one once again is going to get people hating me quite a bit, and that is static rolls on weapons and gear. This I fucking love so goddamn much. I hate excessive amounts of RNG. I hate it in World of Warcraft with Warforged and time forging bullshit, and I hated it in Destiny 1 when it came to the whole, you know, god roll bullshit, okay? The excessive amount of RNG when it comes to rolling for weapons and stuff is bullshit, and I'll tell you why. Now, I'm going to use Vanilla WoW for this example. Back in Vanilla WoW, you had armor sets that you could go for, okay? So say if I was going for the first raid set, I was going for Giant Stalkers. When I got Giant Stalkers, say gloves, they were Giant Stalkers gloves. They had the exact stats on them. There was no RNG on the stats, nothing. The only RNG that was involved in getting those gloves was, were they going to drop? If they did drop, yes. Was I going to win the roll against other people in my group? That was it. Those were the two forms of RNG that were in place. And then once I had a full set of Giant Stalkers gear, I had that set. That's it. That was the set, and it was freaking awesome because I finally had the thing I'd been working towards. I could run around and stomp people. It was fun. One thing I hated in Destiny 1 was the fact that if I got, say, Galahorn, I then had to make sure it had the right rolls on it and the right perks and the right everything, all RNG based, in order to have the perfect Galahorn, which is stupid because all that meant was I had to go and replay the same content over and over and over and over again, trying to get RNG to roll in my favor. It's basically just sitting there rolling the dice over and over again for a piece of gear that I worked hard for and I should already have. In Destiny 2, there are no more random rolls like that. In Destiny 2, using that example, if I get Galahorn, that's Galahorn. It's a static roll, a static perk, so you know exactly what perks you're getting. My Galahorn's not going to be different to your Galahorn. It's going to have the exact same stats on it, and the thing that you're working towards, once you get it, you have it. You don't then have to rely on RNG to hope that you keep getting the next one. Now, the reason why people say they like that system is because it adds replayability to the content. For me personally, that's not replayability to the content. That's being lazy as shit as a developer, because essentially what they've done is they've made a dungeon and they've gone, okay, keep, you know, going through this dungeon over and over and over again, the same dungeon, in the hopes that you might get the best version of this weapon. That's crap. I would prefer a lot more meaningful, challenging, hard content that's varied and vast than, you know, just playing like, you know, 3 or 4 things over and over again and hoping I get the right roll. So for me personally, static rolls on guns and weapons is fucking amazing, and it's a massive pro for me, and I really do hope they don't negate on that and then start putting random rolls on everything again, because it's just bullshit. If I get the gun, I want the gun to be the gun that I want. I don't want to have to keep rolling a dice and hope I get the best version of that gun. So those last two pros for me, I know are going to get me a lot of hate, because right now those are two things that, you know, original vanilla Destiny players, which I did play original Destiny 1, but those are the two things that, you know, they want the most back and everything. Me personally, I'm happy those two things are gone. But that is my Destiny 2 review. Overall, the game is a really, really fun game. If you like shooting stuff, you're gonna have fun. If you like playing through an awesome storyline, you're gonna have fun. If you like the graphics and the scenery and everything and just the aesthetic of Destiny in general, you're going to have fun. But if you're one of those people who likes Destiny 1 in terms of, you know, re-rolling the same content over and over again, all that sort of stuff, you like massive PvP battles and stuff, you're not going to enjoy this game as much as the original one, because they got rid of all that sort of stuff. But that is it, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and let me know your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts on all of these pros, all of these cons. If you have different pros and cons, please let me know down below, and you have any critiques or anything, let me know as well. Always love having a conversation with you all. And please share this video around, it helps me out a fuck ton. And if you want to see more videos from me, please hit the subscribe button. I shall see you all in the next video. Have a good one, guys.